and it may sound simplistic, but they need to sound like drums. Like I've heard stuff that I've been handed to mix as the mixer guy kind of thing, where you go, how can somebody put a mic in front of a thing and have it end up on tape as a piece of cardboard, or somebody had to work to get that. So you that's sort of a mystery, but at the same time, you're technically trying to achieve something, and I tend to catalog sounds of things in my head. Like, I know what an 1176 sounds like, the ballistics of the compression, and I know what a 57 mic sounds like, and so I have this sort of Rolodex in my head of all these things, like all this gear that you're exposed to and you get to play with, and everybody's different. Like, there are certain pieces of gear that I can't make to work for me, save my life. It's just like, everybody loves that, but it just doesn't do anything for me. And then there are some things that I have that other people go, you like that? And you go, well, yeah, I do. And so all that, the gear thing is a really personal sort of thing. But I guess the things that I end up using are the things that make sense to me within my whatever's going on in my head, whatever it may be. And when I get to a drum, to record drums, first and foremost, does the room sound good? When you hit the drum in the room, does it sound good? When you hit the drum in the room, it sounds good, a lot of your work is done. And does the drum itself sound good? If it's good air and it's a crappy drum, it's still going to sound crappy. But if you start with a drum, it's a good drum, tuned, and the air in the room is good, because drums are an acoustic instrument like anything else. The humidity is going to affect the temperature. So if I can get the drum kit in early, a couple days, a day, whatever, let it acclimate, so much the better. And then you're trying to figure out what it is you want to go for. Do you want the in your face compressed thing? Do you want the big round thing? Do you want like, what do you want? And that requires a different sort of approach on things. Like the big rock thing where there's a big room sound and lots of ambience, requires a large room, and you have different sorts of techniques. Like, it's not so much anymore, but you may go in and trigger gates off of all these drums, and you may do this and all these little trickery and frippery things, or do you want the big round sort of drier thing? Then you need to pull in the room and make it drier, and then compress pieces of the kit to make them have that liquidy sort of thing. And so and while all that's going on, then I kind of take, what does the producer want? What are we trying to get? And kind of put that here, and then going through my Rolodex of, okay, these things sound like this. So if I run this through that, and if I run the kick through some distortion and mix that back in, or if it's just all these things that kind of go through your head. And so sometimes when I'm tracking, I may look like I'm locked up, but I'm just kind of listening to things before I plug them in, so that and through experience, you tend to make the right decisions when you plug it in the first time more often, and not always, because you may put up a mic and you go, no, that just doesn't work. So change that, or change the snare, or change the cymbals, or hey, could you put that cymbal on that side, because the way the stereo thing works and the guitar part's over here, and it's all part of that balancing act that you do. And if you're tracking, then you have a chance to do all that kind of from the get-go. And if you're overdubbing to tracks that are already recorded, which I do a lot of. I'll come in and record. We're going to the drummer's house, and we already have all the scratch pieces, or all the loops, or all the just for arrangement purposes. Then you go, okay, this is my framework that I can work in. So I may need to change this and think about this a different way. And so you kind of change a little bit depending on if you have a wide open palette where nothing's been recorded, or if you're overdubbing onto an existing track. But at the end of the day, with all of that said, you still want it to sound like drums, and that's really the simple part of it. Is I want it to sound like a drum kit, and not like a snare and a tom and a tom. It's like the spill from the tom mics is really important to the snare sound. And that's one thing too. When I get handed, back in the mixer guy mode, when I get handed tracks where they've cut out everything but just the tom hits, and you go, I can do that if I need to, but I'd really like to know what was there that's useful. So everything is related to everything else. All the spill, all the way the compression off the overheads works on the trail of the snare in the room. So it's all about, for me, it's all about keeping the catalog in my head and balancing it and trying to achieve music at the end of the day.